apparently first combat fatality reports coming in from Lebanon for the special military operation that they were conducting. That's not an invasion, by the way. And of course, as is the case always in Israel, the military censure is working overtime. But apparently there were like 20 medevacs that occurred and like a ton of ambulances into nearby hospitals.
It is allergy season.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
It could be a coincidence.
It's just, you know, I don't know. That to me is actually insane. Like that is like no self-preservation whatsoever. There's a lot of unique parts about this mania, and I don't understand how it so closely resembles either, you know, the Nazi government's like final push or South Africa, like apartheid South Africa, but
or like Vidalia in the Falklands, kind of.
Yeah, it's just like it literally doesn't make sense. But like you have no self-preservation at all, where you're like, no, this country that we invaded unsuccessfully multiple times, like we should do that again. Especially now that they have better weapons and have hardened their security.
Do you think that, like, I don't know, this is like it's so hard to get inside someone's head, and it's usually futile because so many things can just be explained by stupidity. But like, do you think it's a case of like they expected like to be able to kill a bunch of people, obviously, but at a certain point Biden goes, okay, enough of that, it's an election year, and then they would be like, you know, begrudgingly forced to stop, but that would sort of bring it would be a closed loop. But the fact that there's been like no pushback, no suspension of weapon sales, and they get to just keep upping the ante, that they feel like, well, like shit, like we can't stop now. We can't stop unless, you know, it seems like America makes us stop, and they're not doing that.
I mean, it makes sense for America to rein Israel in to preserve Israel. Like the exit ramp has been there since early October. Pack up Netanyahu, say he's the big bad, move in like some fucking liberal general guy who is just as bloodthirsty, if not worse somehow, than fucking Benjamin Netanyahu, and then everybody goes back to like, oh man, we really have complicated politics here in Israel and are not like, you know, baying for blood on a regular basis. But if left unchecked, it is very obvious that they are just going to keep swinging at every single person, hoping that America keeps giving them weapons. Let's just go after a much larger military force. Doesn't make any tactical sense whatsoever.
I don't think that they really have a plan. I really do think that like they had a rough outline of like basically when America was going to stop, and that gives them an out where they're like, oh, we'd kill all of you if it wasn't for America, but blah blah blah, and they get to keep like support, like Netanyahu gets to keep supporting Trump, etc. But it's hard. You cannot really overstate how just like directionless and without a conceivable strategy they are. And it's shocking. It's shocking. And it like, you know, defies a lot of the explanation, but it just, you know, when this is what happens when a state degenerates to a certain point into its bare essence.
So yeah, I guess Channel 4 did news coverage on the Hezbollah conflict. It's kind of funny. I don't know if you noticed this as well, but like Israel invading Lebanon and like blowing up Beirut has basically put an entire reset, as though like October 7 happened again, but this time Hezbollah did it, even though there was no October 7 that Hezbollah did. And the coverage is basically reset entirely, where the calculations are the same, the death and destruction is the same, and the justifications for it. Like they even brought back Jonathan Concuncrius. They unfroze him, and he was on CNN being like, "Yes, Hezbollah is they have terror babies in Beirut, in Dahia, so we have to blow it up." Like it's literally a rerun.
The army has today confirmed the deaths of 8 of its soldiers. But Israeli forces are still...
It's so crazy. The first time that they encounter like a dude who has a weapon in his hands, everybody dies. Like,
yeah,
I guess that it's you know, I guess when you're too used to killing children, and that's the only combat training you have, it literally is a massive problem when you have to deal with like actual people who know how to shoot their guns.
I mean, time and time again, that is what we see with armies who they change their focus from the conventional focuses that armies usually have to internal repression.
Yeah.
It always results in a complete degradation of fighting ability.
TikTok lost 8 of its most valuable dancers on that day.
Rest in peace to the 4 field marshals, 3 lieutenant colonels, and the 1 private.
Yeah. The 1 private is the first day.
Yeah.
I've never seen a private get killed.
I think privates are like, you're only a private in like when you're a fetus in the 2nd trimester. You're like born a sergeant in Israel. You have to really f up to become a corporal.
Striking across Lebanon from the air at will. This, the Hezbollah stronghold of Dahia this afternoon. We're in the southern city of Tyre. Our movements constrained by Hezbollah, who accompany us wherever we film. We visit a residential block, now reduced to rubble.
This is the aftermath of an Israeli strike that hit over the weekend. You can see the huge level of destruction that it's caused. We're told that practically everyone had already fled the area before the strike, but that several people were killed.
At a nearby hospital, 9-year-old Maryam was wounded in an airstrike on her family's home.
They hit us with force. The entire roof fell on me.
You must have been very scared when it happened.
Yes, I was scared. I just want the war to stop and for everyone to stay safe.
Doctors here are braced for the situation to deteriorate further. Public anger.
Oh, another American citizen has been killed, this time in Lebanon. A resident from Dearborn, Michigan has been killed in Lebanon, the American government said on Wednesday, with the man's friend and neighbor said he died in an Israeli airstrike. We are deeply saddened by the death of Kamal Ahmad Jawad, and our hearts go out to his family and friends. His death is a tragedy, as are the many deaths of many civilians in Lebanon, a White House spokesperson said. Yeah, I'm sure they're really sad. Definitely. Oh, yeah, they're so sad. That's why they're giving more weapons to Israel to do it. Dearborn, huh? Interesting coincidence. Why was he hanging out with Hezbollah terrorists? A lot of Americans with Israeli flags in the bios are celebrating this for some reason. From Dearborn. Okay. Can I ask what you think is the best realistic outcome for this conflict right now? The Israeli economy and Israeli society collapses in and of itself, and that it goes the way of apartheid South Africa, and the apartheid is abolished in its entirety. That is probably what will inevitably happen. There is no way. The contradictions are far too obvious, and this entire process will crumble. It will. The issue is the final stages of it will always be the deadliest. And we're experiencing it right now. How many decades? No, not decades. Not decades at all.
Well, I was watching TV with my son and my sister. Suddenly we were hit and she was killed, this man says. They know no mercy. Much of Tyre, much of southern Lebanon has seen its inhabitants flee north. But not everyone has gone.
Why did you decide to stay here?
Because my father and my mother lives all their life in here, so they can't go because they, they will love to stay here. So we decided to stay here.
It's so crazy to be like, why don't you guys just like leave your houses? Because Israel's just gonna bomb it anyway. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing to just like ask of people.
Imagine being given like 48 hours notice, usually less, usually just a few hours, if that. Hey, your entire life, just pack up and go, not anywhere specific, just north.
Yeah.
Just go fucking north, keep walking.
With no indication that Israel won't bomb it inevitably.
Yeah, what fucking reason do they have to believe that there's any safe zone?
They watched hundreds of thousands of people from southern Lebanon go to Beirut, and then those people died in Beirut. The idea that this is like, oh, just like there's a safe area. They also, before that, for the past 12 months, have watched the Gazan population go through this exact same fucking dog and pony show. Yeah.
People in Gaza very quickly learned that the designated safe zones of the Israeli military were in fact
places
killing fields.
Killing fields. Yeah.
I don't want to be in a situation where I'm struggling to provide things for my family, her father adds. Everyone here and across this region is braced for further violence.
Well, with me now is HasanAbi, a Lebanese MP and the country's former Deputy Prime Minister and Deputy Speaker of Parliament. What do you think is in store for your country over the coming days?
Well, let's hope things will end very soon, but there's a huge amount of uncertainty right now with all the events taking place in the south and in the suburbs of Beirut, in the Piker Valley. There's a really unprecedented level of confrontations between the Israeli armed forces and Hezbollah on Lebanese territory.
Do you support that resistance that Hezbollah is trying to push out?
No.
Bro, you're trying to get him assassinated.
Yeah,
like,
Jesus
I don't even
fuck.
know. I don't even know his like personal, because like there's plenty of Lebanese parliament members who hate Hezbollah, right? Like he could just as easily be asking that to a guy like that. I don't know what this dude's background is, but even if he was like in allegiance, right? Why would he ever answer like that when Israel is assassinating every single fucking person that they feel, you know, that they feel the need to assassinate? He might also just as easily be a psycho right-wing Christian Lebanese parliament member.
From our point of view, from our national political point of view, we have always warned about the existence of a non-state actor armed.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, he is the second thing. Yeah.
Controlling their own decisions outside the state, outside
Hezbollah,
outside the will of the Lebanese sovereign state and government. Taking risks with people's lives, with Lebanon's future, in immersing Lebanon into regional wars. And we're seeing now the results of such a situation.
Yeah, Israel famously would never actually invade Lebanon if it wasn't for Hezbollah's existence. Except if Chad is right and he's like some right-wing Christian weirdo in the Lebanese parliament, like he wants Israel to invade so they can collaborate and Israel can set him up as like, you know, the puppet administration.
Situation that has been left undealt with for so many years.
So do you feel they have led you down a dark corner?
Well, unfortunately, we've warned.
But by the way, this is what I meant. Channel 4, after like a couple months into Israel's like relentless bombing campaign of Gaza, started actually providing like decent coverage from the perspective of like the Palestinian citizens that were being slaughtered. But they also got hit with the reset button. So now they're back to doing like, well, you know, Hezbollah is the reason why Israel has to invade, to liberate Lebanon from Hezbollah.
Right,
Like
yeah.
they're doing the same fucking shit.
And every major network, there's like a certain amount of people have to die before they will actually provide worthwhile coverage. For Channel 4's, it might be a little bit lower than say BBC's.
Many times against this situation, and we have actually been. Lebanon has been dragged into a regional conflict that Lebanon could have avoided being in such a situation. Yet it was, in my view, an uncalculated step from Hezbollah that effectively is now hurting all the Lebanese people economically, physically, militarily, and in their own safety.
Yeah, one must always ask the question like, so Vladimir Putin was right because he wanted to liberate Ukraine from the throes of like the Azov battalion and the Nazis. Like, how does that work? How was his special military operation immediately and directly falsifiable? The easiest thing to fucking joke about and cast aside as bullshit. But Israel happens to do that all the time, everywhere, and it's always somehow just. It's interesting. I don't know. A shocking situation.
Right, like the idea that like Israel is doing a sort of like slow drip nation building attempt in Lebanon over the last several years, that's what's going on is just, first of all, like no Israeli believes that.
Yeah, they're literally talking about they want to build a nation in Lebanon, just more Israel.
Right,
okay?
right. They're right. Like no Israeli would tell you their goal is like we're taking corruption out of Lebanese politics.
Yeah,
we're gonna fix their institutions. But it takes a certain type of delusion from a non-Israeli, especially, to think that.
Is the rest of the country powerless now? I mean, are you just a pawn in a bigger game between Tehran and the Ayatollahs and
Well,
Netanyahu and
unfortunately-
the Israeli government.
Yes, unfortunately, Lebanon is now paralyzed. Let's not forget that Lebanon was already in an economic crisis. There's no president leading the country. It was already paralyzed, and now it's even further paralyzed in this regional conflict.
What do you expect Israel to do
Well,
as it weighs its response?
Well, what we're seeing now is a potential regional escalation as Israel weighs its response to Iran. Israel continues to bombard Hezbollah in Lebanon, and we are seeing scenes even more aggressive than what we have seen in 2006, that at the time resulted in a UN Security Council resolution to stop the fighting and remove the arms of all armed non-official and non-sovereign armed forces from Lebanon.
What kind of foreign pressure
Yeah.
is the Lebanese government under when it comes to how it uses the armed forces? I mean,
Yeah.
are they really Lebanese armed forces?
Well, we do have Lebanese armed forces who are tasked with the sovereignty and the protection of the sovereignty of Lebanon. However,
Yeah, as long as Israel doesn't have territorial ambitions, which is precisely the reason why they moved past the southern Lebanese territories, which now Israel is moving into, we have an increasingly shrinking territory of sovereignty here in Lebanon, and Israel sets that standard. It is what it is. Not much we can do about it. That's not our job, That's cool. It's crazy. Like, I don't understand how you can behave like this, like political disagreements and like the brutality or whatever the fuck you're going to point to aside. Like, is it not the same, if not infinitely worse? I mean, not even the same, but significantly worse brutality that Israel is subjecting your people to?
Well, yeah, it's
like your children.
The way that he characterizes it is like Hezbollah just even existing is robbing us of our favorite word, agency. It's robbing us of sovereignty. It's robbing us of, our ability to make our own decisions. But Israel, as an expansionist force, that is practically a force of nature. That is not human beings making a decision to colonize and terraform the world for a greater Israel. It is just a act of God, a force of nature that happens, and you either provoke it or incur its wrath, or you just sort of let it do whatever, and hopefully it recognizes this.
Yeah.
It's an insane stance to put yourself in.
when Hezbollah made the decision to enter a war, they did not request the permission of anyone. They did not look at the sovereign state and deal with them as a sovereign decision maker when it comes to war and peace. The Lebanese armed forces are in a situation now where they can see the country has been dragged into a war that they were not party to, the government was not party to, the Lebanese people were not party to such a decision.
So what's your message to Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, I cannot.
If the American security cooperation with Lebanon was actually a real security cooperation, they would let them have anti-air missile systems. Why doesn't Lebanon have anti-air missile systems? Why? Why don't they have an Iron Dome?
Patriot missile system machine broken.
Yeah. What happened?
Come back next week.
What happened? Why is this security cooperation with Lebanon significantly neutered in comparison to our security cooperation with Israel, for example? I'm just saying it's just a weird situation. How come the Lebanese people with their security cooperation from the United States don't have anti-air missile systems? Is it perhaps because if they did have those, then they would use them against Israeli fighter jets on their way to fucking Beirut that want to bomb entire city blocks? Is that perhaps the reason why America won't let them have it?
Any serious defense cooperation that is one of the single most vital parts of modern warfare is defending the skies. I don't think that's a controversial statement. This is a cooperative security agreement that you would ink in 1903 when there were before even barrage balloons.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now, the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has said the country is in the midst of a tough war against Iran's axis of evil, which seeks to destroy us. But he insisted we will win together. Israel's military chief also warned that the country would respond to Iran's missile attack and said,
How do you think they're going to respond to Iran? Do you think it's going to be like last time?
Probably like, yeah, military depots, oil facilities, I presume. Though, I mean, I don't know. It's so hard to like do any type of like halfway rational actor thing with Israel. But I don't know. There is the possibility that like they are kind of fucking. They realize that like they actually do have this capability now. That like Iran's sending all those loitering munitions and very slow moving subsonic surface to surface cruise missiles back in spring may have been kind of a feint. And like, I mean, it is worth noting that like Netanyahu was kind of afraid of like having hitting Iran back very hardly after that. Of course, they've done fucking insane things since then.
Yeah. Well,
but like Benny Gantz was way more hawkish on that front. And for as stupid and self-destructive and how unplanned all of this is, on a basic level, you do kind of have to think that they are like a little shook, right? But it's just, how the fuck do you get into their head? When there's no semblance of a plan. They have no idea what their off ramp would be, short of killing everyone. I don't know.
Yeah, I assume it's gonna be like I don't think they'll hit the oil refineries. Iran's immediate response was, if Israel hits our oil refineries, that they'll light the entire region's oil refineries on fire and put the entire world to a halt. That's what they said. I don't know. That's like their nuclear option.
I wonder
Said
if
its
they,
forces
like,
could
not necessarily like, I don't know, like a thermonuclear weapon, but like I wonder if they have like something now.
Yeah,
it makes you wonder. I don't know.
I mean, look, the way I see it is this: if they have the capability of striking 3 military targets, I guess the Mossad headquarters they didn't really hit, right, but near it in Tel Aviv. And also the 2 military bases. They said that they were going to hit those targets, and they did, which means that they have the capability of hitting Tel Aviv if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have that targeting capacity, and if they have the munitions to be able to do it, and they still haven't done it, that means it's restraint. Unless the idea somehow is that, like, I don't know, they're just like too afraid of Israel, or Israel actually intercepted those missiles and like moved them towards the fucking military targets that they said they were gonna hit. You know what I mean? It makes no sense.
Zachary Levi as Shazam went up midair, and all these missiles were heading straight towards civilian centers, straight towards all the nightclubs called Reimagine, and he pushed them to hit all these military targets.
Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. It's telling everyone that understands this process that they have the capacity to penetrate Israel's defenses. Okay, that's what they're saying. They're showing that, like they're demonstrating their capabilities. If you don't understand and learn a lesson from that, I don't know what to tell you. They could have this time around easily fucking struck Tel Aviv and killed civilians, right? They didn't, and then Israel like flexed as though it was as though it was just like, oh, they're so bad.
Well, they did the typical Israeli thing of like,
didn't even kill a single civilian. The only civilian that died was a Palestinian. It doesn't matter. We hate those guys.
They did the typical Israeli thing of like, they literally said, this is not normal.
Yeah,
this is our life right now. Also, they didn't do anything. It doesn't matter, and fucking life goes on, and blah blah blah. They're cowards. They can't even kill as many civilians as we do, blah blah blah. Yeah, I supposedly Iran did not even. They have missiles with guidance after reentry that are even faster than what they sent, which is fucking incredible considering the reentry speeds of some of these.
Yeah. Breaking: Israel before and after the Iranian bombing, perhaps showing that Iran doesn't indiscriminately target apartment buildings, hospitals, schools, temples, and beaches isn't the sick burn you think it is. Yeah, it's just so weird that they're bragging about it and they're making fun of it. They're like, yeah, oh, these fucking idiots didn't even kill a single civilian. Like,
yeah, it's basically like if they put something out where they're like, they haven't even molested a single prisoner of war.
Yeah. Unlike
They'll
us.
never catch up with us.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Could strike anywhere in the Middle East. Our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson, is in Jerusalem. Alex.
Yes, well, for some days, as you might expect, Israel's political leaders preparing their people for the simple and obvious fact: if you invade somebody else's country, you're going to get hurt. And so...
Yeah, keep defending terrorist organizations. Hamas, Hezbollah, literally cutting heads off, killings for fun, for religious reasons. Then keep hiding behind those same people that they fucked over. Good job, Israel, for dealing with these Muslim fucks. I like that so much of Israeli foreign policy can be traced to like the dumbest guy just repeating like post 9/11 Muslim, like anti-Muslim propaganda. Like he's one step removed from being like, yeah, y'all keep having sex with those goats, dude. That's why Israel's killing all of y'all. Like,
keep praying to Allah, the moon god.
Yeah.
I love, this is a very post 9/11 thing of like just thinking like beheading is, every Muslim does it.
Yeah.
It's every Muslim's favorite thing is beheading.
Yeah, that's like, everyone's always doing that. They love doing beheadings. You watch fucking one like live leak video of like some fucking ISIS weirdo do a beheading, and all of a sudden you're like, every Muslim loves beheading.
And
like,
ISIS weirdo is probably born in fucking London too.
Yeah. ISIS weirdo born in London, maybe got some CIA training, who knows? I don't know. That's where they taught him. They taught him the beheading at the beheading course at the CIA.
God, this is taking me back so much. Do you remember like the Nick Berg frame by frame analysis that used to go on the internet in like 2000?
Oh,
what is that? Like 2004, 2005?
Yeah. Not so fun fact. ISIS helped Israel. Maybe they taught them how to do the beheadings. Actually, it might have been Mossad. My bad. I said CIA, but yeah.
It is proving, obviously. A little after 6 o'clock local time, the Israeli Defense Force released the composite of photographs, which I think you can see now. 8 soldiers listed as killed. Now, I can tell you some details on that. 6 were from the el-Ras commando unit, killed in a gun battle with Hezbollah fighters in a southern Lebanese village. 5 more were wounded in that contact. 2 other soldiers from the Golani reconnaissance unit killed in a separate attack, and 1 more soldier from that incident listed as seriously injured. On top of that, of course, a captain who was also listed killed in action earlier. But of course,
the captain is the one with the braces, Chad.
It's events across the country dominated by 2 things. First of all, the gunman attacking and killing civilians roughly half an hour before the attack from Iran last night.
I have a really good idea for these guys, okay? Don't invade Lebanon. Here's a really cool way to not get killed. Don't do it. Don't invade Lebanon. Do not invade Lebanon. Stay home. Say, I'm a conscientious objector. I will never forget that, like, dudes that just like the sniper piece of shit assassin did not incur that killed Shireen Abu Akleh, sniped her, okay, assassinated her, did not incur the same penalties that like a bunch of Jewish IDF soldiers got for making hot dogs on Saturday because it fucking didn't keep kosher. Like, that sounds like something that a groiper would make up.
Yeah.
That sounds like something that someone would be like, oh, dude, these guys are crazy. And it's like, nah, that's a Haaretz.com article. Like, that's literally a thing that happened.
In 2013, if somebody in one of my group DMs said that, I'd be like, take a lap, bud.
Yeah.
You know, okay. Work on a better one.
Yeah.
No, that really happened.
Yeah, literally. It's just insane. It's so crazy.
You have to be a really evil country to imprison the hot dog makers of this world.
Yeah. That's how strict they are, though. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
It makes all the things about them being like a socially liberal paradise fucking hilarious for anyone that knows anything at all about the codifications of these things in Israeli law.
And then, of course, that 181 missiles fired into the country. It's fair enough to say, not exactly controversy, but debate growing about whether the claims of Israel, the United States, and to some degree the UK about the impregnability of Israel's missile defense and their missile defense systems against Iran really is as strong as has been made out in some quarters.
This guy's a homie.
That's a crazy thing to say on British media.
No,
it's true.
Well, like some of the reporters that make like Kirby squirm the most are like you know, I would say what, like 7 times out of 10, it's a British guy.
Yeah. It's like old school NatSec reporters that like write for these like random publications.
Yeah. When you see a British reporter that's like this old, there's a good chance that they are like a, you know, like someone from the, what was that show called? The original British House of Cards. Like a psycho, completely transactional, cynical, old Tory lunatic. But then there's also a decent chance that they're, you know, they're just a truth teller.
Yeah.
Just verified images show Iranian missiles detonating near Israel's Nevatim.
This is in reverse, dude. Yo, anti-Semitic propaganda. Cut it out. Those are Tamir interceptors in reverse, dog. Trust.
Yeah.
They famously also do this explosion thing when they're being deployed.
Well, that's how big their first booster stage is.
Yeah.
And they actually slowed it down. They're way faster than this too.
Yeah.
Airbase. And other verified video now appears to show more missile strikes. Only late this afternoon did the Israeli Air Force say several of its bases were hit without casualties, they added.
An Israeli like civilian he's like me, and he just thinks like, you know, weapon systems are cool. Yeah, everyone was freaking out, and he's like, this is so fucking cool.
They get drafted for 8,200.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a wait, dude? This is also another funny thing. There's a autistic brigade in Israel.
Oh yeah.
They work on maps. Yeah. The Israeli army unit that recruits teens with autism. Many autistic soldiers who would otherwise be exempt from the military service have found a place in Unit 9900, the Selective Intelligence Squad, where their heightened perceptual skills are an asset. No, this is not a Nick Mullen bit, chat. This is a real thing that the Atlantic wrote about a real brigade. The Atlantic also, editor-in-chief, is
former Israeli prison guard.
Former concentration camp guard from Israel.
Yeah.
Jerusalem last night. Most incoming missiles, it seems, were intercepted, but the impression of near invincibility peddled by Israel, US, and UK too isn't quite the full picture.
Peddled?
No, this guy's a homie.
I don't want to show this. Sorry.
Cruel irony. The only person confirmed killed by Iran's action, this Palestinian man, struck seconds after these images by a falling missile.
Oh, never mind. They don't show it.
By day, the even deeper irony. The dead man, Samir al-Asali, was from Gaza. Just north of Tel Aviv, a missile crater already filled in this morning. A yellow ribbon for the return of the hostages, and now a coating of blasted earth.
The yellow
all of this
ribbon,
close,
by the way,
very
that's
close
to
to
support the troops ribbon. You guys have to give that back. That's American.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah, isn't support the troops in America? That's a yellow ribbon.
Sorry, sweetie. Since October 7, every time I see the yellow ribbon, I know exactly what it is. Okay? Someone who wants to kill as many hostages as possible with American weapons that we sent over there to use on top of, you know, Palestinian homes.
Bring the hostages back in installments.
Yeah. That's what it means to me. I see the yellow ribbon, which fucking Mr. Maoist Van Jones wears all the time, by the way. Every time I see that, I'm like, oh, you just want to kill the hostages. Got it. Okay.
Bezos gave him $100 million. He was like, this guy is so smart. I'm going to do the Mr. Beast challenge and gift my favorite streamer $100 million fucking dollars.
Yeah.
He thought Van Jones was so sick.
What did he do with it? Do we know?
He's going to make like a think tank that's dedicated to like depolarization. One of those things. It would be funny if he just spent it on like cars and like houses.
That'd be baller.
That would be awesome.
I would actually respect him a lot more if he did that. I'd be like, fuck you. It's my $100 million, bitch.
If he was like, okay, fuck this politics shit. Yeah. I don't care anymore.
Just fucking quit. You got $100 million. Maybe that's why Jeff Bezos gave it to him. He's like, dude, please just shut the fuck up. Just stop, dude.
He's
You're
sick
so
of seeing
whack.
him cry on TV.
Yeah. Oh my God. After Joe Biden dropped out?
Yeah.
Yes. It's one of my favorite Van Jones moments.
Well, Van Jones has cried on TV a lot. He's a very famous crier of the airwaves.
Yeah, that's why. That Jeff Bezos Jeff Bezos gave him that. He was like, "Shut up, you fucking baby."
Yeah, it's
You're
like
done.
those people who like have Patreon tiers that are like, for $7,000, I'll stop.
To major security installations, this military base, and a Mossad Secret Service headquarters. A few miles distant, they were still dousing the fire started by another missile strike last night.
Everybody went into shelters, but pretty soon we started getting reports of firstly of shrapnel and then explosions and then hits.
This guy looks like an Israeli Kyle
An empty
Chandler.
house destroyed in a park. Gaza, it is not. But 181 Iranian missiles means Israel is talking, at least, of imminent revenge.
The Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has described that action from Iran as a big mistake. But as yet, no further.
It's kind of funny that he's standing right in front of the firefighter. I don't know. That's like an aesthetic choice that he made that I really like. He could just get hit with the fucking power washer on accident. Yeah.
Action from Israel, and no further missiles, for that matter, coming in overnight from Iran.
A former Air Force commander who has personally bombed Iraqi nuclear sites says Israel will retaliate. But that all came with a very clear warning to his own people.
We can inflict a lot of damage on Iran, but there would be repercussions and a cascading effect. Remember that we have the Russians.
Wait, was he bombing Iraq with the Israeli military or the American one? He said Iran, bro. That's like... Iran is not even like, I don't think Israelis even say Iran.
No, this guy has blue eyes. This guy is from like Barrington, Illinois.
Yeah.
Well, I won Israeli citizenship in a lottery. I'll be darned.
He said Iran, bro.
Iran.
I've never heard an Israeli say Iran. That's crazy.
Who have teamed up with Iranians lately because of the war in the Ukraine, and the Russians are just next door in Syria. We don't want this cascading effect.
His accent is so
Jaffah,
weird.
along the coast.
Sort of Midwestern.
It's a cursed nation, dude. Like,
it creates the worst accents ever heard.
Yeah. It's like, is it French? What's going on? Are you like...
It's like a Ukrainian who like spent his weekends in Chicago growing up.
It's like an international student, you know what I mean? Like a kid that like went to school in Switzerland or something, and his accent is so busted because he's surrounded by all of these different like nationalities and their fucking weird accents.
Yeah, his accent and like word choices are like partially jug hooter, but then like very Israeli.
Yeah.
Grieving for 7 people shot.
It's so funny how they say the Ukraine. No, that was the OG way of saying Ukraine because it means the border. Isn't that what it is? Like that's why old school people will always refer to Ukraine as the Ukraine, which is again another like kind of American thing, I think, to say. Like old heads always say the Ukraine.
I've heard Judge Joe Brown refer to it only that way.
Yeah.
One of my favorite follows.
It's like a microaggression against Ukrainians. Yeah.
Dead, 11 injured, 6 critically. It happened about half an hour before the Iranian missile salvo last night. Tonight, Hamas said they did it. Few eyewitnesses will speak openly.
Israelis wear the stupidest t-shirts I've ever seen.
You know, they ran away and came here. We did what we could. We bandaged his leg. He was shot in the leg. His whole leg was injured. The whole shop was blood yesterday.
2 Palestinians from the West Bank, Mohammed Rahman and Hasan Tamimi, visited this mosque, then stabbed a policeman, stole his gun, and opened fire at the tram stop over the road on Jerusalem Boulevard.
Wait, that dude did it with a cop's
killing
gun?
7 times more people
he took it straight
than
from a
all
cop.
of Iran's
That's crazy.
missiles.
Bro, those guys train our cops. What the fuck? Whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know it was a fucking service weapon, dude. That's wild.
Yeah, he fucking yanked it
Jesus
straight out of his
Christ,
hands
dude.
after stabbing him.
They were just waiting for a train, it says.
And yet there were celebrations too last night.
Yeah, no shit.
Allahu Akbar.
This is the funniest part when they're like, look at these people who are like literally experiencing genocide, having a moment of like happiness.
It's like if America actually like did bomb the tracks to concentration camps, and you had people celebrating inside Dachau, and you were like real mature guys.
Yeah, like what the fuck are you saying?
People have to go to work on those trains.
What are you fucking saying at that point? Like, what do you mean? Yeah, no shit, they're celebrating, dude. If that shit was happening to you, you'd be celebrating. You'd be probably doing way worse shit than just celebrating in that moment. You know what I mean?
Akbar, God is great, they shout in Gaza, as attack and defense missiles light up the sky over Israel. And in the West Bank, Arabs delighted by the actions of Tehran.
They're not losing it, dude. I'm telling you, this channel used to have better coverage a few months ago. No, it's a reset. I promise you, that's what it is. Wait till they hit an unacceptable number of casualties so that they can change their tune to being like, well, Israel was wrong in the Lebanese invasion as well. That's just how it works, man. I feel like these guys are just following process, you know?
Yeah, no. Every network has like a
He didn't
number
mean
of
my channel, dumbass. He's talking about channel 4. The fuck? Yeah, he meant my channel.
Yeah.
He's like, back in the day, you used to serve 3-minute ad breaks at the top of the hour. You've forgotten, which I did, by the way. For the past 2 hours, I haven't served any fucking ass, so I'm doing it now. Are they not allowed to say Palestinians? Why did they say Arabs? Actually, I don't know. Maybe channel 4 also has that. I think the BBC literally doesn't say Palestinians, right?
No.
New York Times doesn't say it.
BBC used to, I do know.
Yeah.
Alex Thompson reporting, well, earlier I spoke to Ayal Hulata, who served as Israel's national security advisor under the last government and coordinated Israel's effort on Iran. He's now a senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. And I began by asking him what he thought the purpose of Israel's response to Iran should be.
The Israeli response.
Oh, dude, yeah, I saw this guy on CNN. Oh, he has great ideas. He's gonna really defend democracy hard here, chat. Okay, get ready for the FDD guy. They are always notoriously level-headed and reasonable guys. Okay.
First and foremost, is important to deliver a message to Iran that they can go about doing this. There must be a response coming from Israel to put Iran at bay and to make sure that they don't understand they can do this every time they want to.
Like an annoying
Right, but the question is, should that response be a message? Should it be overwhelming? Should it be targeting key installations, nuclear power, that kind of infrastructure? What sort of scale should it be on?
Just messaging and signaling, I think, will not be a proper response at this point. The fact that the Americans, and in fact also the UK and all of the major European countries have been telling Iran for weeks now, don't do this. This is inappropriate. Do not escalate the region into war. Do not fire.
Don't do this.
You will regret this.
This is inappropriate. You will hurt our feelings.
He's like one of the advisors from SimCity that yells at you. Do not confront it. You will regret this.
Oh, that's crazy.
Ballistic missiles in Israel, and yet they did do it. I can tell you that it's very clear for Israel perspective. This will not be an act to open a regional war. Israel is not interested in a regional war.
Oh, dude, yeah, sure. Yeah, famously. Yeah. That's what I always think of. I'm like, Israel hates doing regional war. That's why they were bombing Damascus and fucking Yemen.
Three fucking countries.
Gaza, while simultaneously conducting additional military operations in the West Bank and also invading Lebanon. These are the actions of a country that doesn't want to invade other places.
We don't want a regional war. All we've done is assassinate the the negotiating party in the main war we're at.
Yeah,
one of the
on the sovereign nation's soil, the one country that we're like constantly worried about.
The head of the group that our side war, the head of that group, we've hit Yemen multiple fucking times this year, but we don't want a regional war.
It's just, bro, once you open 3 fronts, like what's the difference between 4 or 5? You know what I mean?
You know what? Like, just no one would expect it now. Attack Albania. Open a 4th front, open it far away.
Yeah.
You can never have too much greater Israel.
I agree. They should overtake Albania.
Oh my God. You know what? You guys, you guys had some dealings with Argentina? What if you had the Falklands?
Yeah.
What if it was your territory?
I think it would be anti-Semitic not to give the Falklands to Israel.
100%.
Yeah.
The UK would probably just give it up at this point.
Yeah.
Like if they asked.
Oh, I did. Did you see this, by the way? Christian Amanpour had like a Lebanese Lebanese foreign minister, Abdullah Abu Habib, and he said that the Hezbollah leader agreed to a ceasefire right before Israel killed him.
I don't know if
Are you saying Hassan Nasrallah had agreed to a ceasefire?
Maybe.
Just moments before he was
I have trouble believing that.
He agreed. Yes. We agreed completely. Lebanon agreed to ceasefire, but consulting with the Hezbollah, the speaker, Mr. Berry, consulted with Hezbollah, and we informed the Americans and the French that what happened. And they told us that Mr. Netanyahu also agreed on the statement that was issued by both.
I don't know if I believe it, but
I mean,
they've done that.
They would do that,
Yes.
absolutely. I just don't know. I've seen a lot of people, both who live in Lebanon and other nations in the area, strongly doubting this, though.
Yeah.
It's so crazy too, because it is like, it's such an outmoded, like, zombie ideology, neoconservatism. But, if George W. Bush were president right now, well, first of all, I don't think things would have actually gone this far. Not that he was good on Israel, but there was at least like some, in actuality, he drew more consequential red lines than Biden did.
He also, he had the classic, like, oh, we know better, we'll fix this mentality.
Yeah.
Even though it obviously was a demonstrable failure, like the elections and everything, there was at least an attempt of like trying to use like normal channels of diplomacy that inherently recognizes the humanity of the Palestinians and like some form of like government process for them, which Joe Biden has not even broached.
Right.
Like not even, the only thing that Joe Biden says is just a vague gesturing towards a fucking two-state that he wants. He's like, oh, the Palestinians, they need a state sometimes, I think. Look alive.
Yeah, like what I was going to say is, like, if John Bolton were president right now, how would our policy with regards to Israel, how would it look different?
Yeah.
It would not. It would not look different at all.
It would be the exact same, 100%. Oh, the narrative is hating on Biden now, Rich.
What would Biden have to do for people like this to realize that this policy has been a fucking disaster? What would have to happen?
It's so funny because it's like electorally a disaster as well. Like, if you're saying this, you're like pro-Democratic Party, right?
Yeah.
You're blue anon. You're blue MAGA. Like, you love the Democratic Party. You think they can do no wrong. And what's really wild about being a Biden dead ender at this point is that you're looking at the current carcass in office actively cooking the Democratic Party's chances of winning this election. And you're still like, wow, can't believe you're calling that out. Is what I would say if I was some fucking radical Islamist in the pocket of Hezbollah. I'm riding in Biden. You guys know me and Ryan Ruth. We are the NATO voters. We're riding in Biden. He can't ride in Biden because he's in jail, but I will be riding it for him. So I agree with you. I would never hate Biden, chatter.
Achievable, is this a question of putting Iran back by 10 years or 20 years in terms of its ability to attack in the future? Is it this, rather horrible phrase, mowing the lawn in Iran, the same way as Israel is perceived to be doing with Hamas and with Hezbollah? Is it essentially the same purpose?
This cannot be the same purpose. Iran is 2,000 kilometers away. Israel is, in fact, fighting for our lives after being attacked so brutally over and over again.
Yeah, it can't be the same purpose. Yeah, which is why we openly said that we assassinated Hassan Nasrallah, because he wouldn't decouple Hezbollah from Gaza, which quite literally is the purpose. They admit it. Like, they admit it all the time. Yeah, that's the reason why they're doing it. That's the reason why Iran is doing it. Well, at least on paper.
This doesn't mean that Israel needs to today start and open a regional war. I don't think this is what we should expect, but we should expect what Israel should expect from the international community to understand this and also to join this effort, because Iran is not just Israel's problem.
Right, but in that case, what you seem to be talking about is fundamentally changing the dynamics of the Middle East. Isn't the fact that every time Israel has tried to do that, it has failed?
I wouldn't say that Israel has tried over and over again to do this and has failed. In fact, I think that Israel has tried other means of reaching agreements and diplomatic resolutions to our conflicts, and these actually have failed.
Can we talk about Gaza then for a moment? Because almost a year on, after October the 7th, more than 40,000 people killed in Gaza. Today, there are another 60 people dead, and Israel has still not defeated Hamas. I mean, where is the strategy there, and why is it going wrong?
Hamas capabilities have been eroded. Many of the casualties in Gaza are in fact Hamas operatives bearing arms,
like, you know
targeted.
What he's going to say to everything. This is the fucking stock answers to everything.
It's also boring. It's boring. Everybody says it on every outlet. Like, you've heard it a million times over.
We've all seen this. We've all seen, if not literally this guy, someone like him, some fucking crying, bald Ukrainian guy who says that all of Israel's failures in the past were they were just too nice. They were going about things too peacefully. That Hamas's capabilities have been eroded.
That's why they didn't have troops stationed around the Merkavas in a fucking dense urban combat zone.
Yeah,
because they were nice and not because they were scared.
That was them attempting for peace.
Yeah. Which, you know what was not nice though? Lobbing a grenade directly bypassing the trophy system of the Merkava.
Yeah,
that is not nice.
How are you really supposed to have peace talks when they're firing at the Merkavas?
What? I don't support Biden, just calling the hypocrisy.
What?
What? Yeah, right, Lamar. Y'all were all for him until the debate, but he's been like that for.
Oh, this is like a stupid MAGA guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh shit, dude. Where's my fucking hat, brother? Hold on. Let me show you what's what, dog.
You don't know that you're dealing with a certified jug hooter.
Fuck you mean, brother? What do you mean? What the fuck? Yo, let me get my gun. Hold on.
Kaya just got so serious.
Fucking dumbass, dude. Talking about fucking riding with Biden. Brother, what do you mean? I'm a goddamn American patriot, you fucking son of a bitch. I just don't want my tax dollars to go to Israel. I want to bomb Mexico. We got goddamn cartel on the southern border, and we're out here giving all the money to Israel instead. Telling me about riding with Biden. Hell yeah.
And the fact that they are hiding underneath and among civilians.
With a rope toy for the last hour, and she just totally stopped.
Yeah,
when
I'm bored now.
Piker came out, when the hat went on, she was like, "All right, silly time's over."
Yeah, no, she's getting into. She's also doing method. She's getting into the. She's my hog dog. Yeah.
All right, back at it.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. I'm not objecting that. What I'm saying is the fact that Hamas is fighting Israel from within those civilian communities and not putting them in shelter. Hamas won't allow their civilians to go underground to take shelter. They would.
What are you saying?
What is who is this for? Who is this realistically for?
Hamas won't put the civilians in the fucking tunnel system is crazy. I think he's just saying that to bait them so they can like flood the tunnels.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, put them in the tunnels so we can flood them finally.
The terror tunnels that we are bombing, you should put a toddler in there because they're safe.
Yeah, that's definitely safe. The country that's deliberately bombing civilian areas because, because they can. They definitely won't bomb the terror tunnels, which they have been bombing.
What is the utility of having this guy on TV? What are you as? I guess you're getting like objectivity. You're making it seem like you're giving everyone a voice, but just this same fucking crying bald guy that we always see from the Israeli side, who always just says this ridiculous shit.
Yeah,
I don't know who it's actually for out there.
Rather fire rockets at the Israeli communities from within those civilian population.
A year into Gaza.
Bro, what purpose does going to the tunnel serve? You just said you're gonna kill them anyway. Like, what the fuck? You just said they're firing rockets from civilian areas.
If you asked him about that, if you were like, why did you say that? Well, why did you say that? If you're just gonna bomb the tunnels, he would not be aware he said that a minute after the fact.
Yeah.
He has no idea what he's saying. He's just like pure like C-grade Hezbollah autopilot.
They're just This is also part of the reason why they're so bad at propaganda, because they just like are so used to never being questioned at all.
Yeah.
So they're just like, what? What do you mean? What was the fucking one guy that like left the interview angry because they were like, are you saying that Israel has a right to have nukes because the Holocaust happened and they can nuke?
I forgot who that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's sort of analogous to their military. Just how like a military that has only done internal repression for, you know, the last generation or so, what they lose their ability, their combat ability is degraded in the face of actual resistance. You know, 20, 30 years of zombie consensus in the West, where it is anti-Semitic to question these guys, has resulted in the dumbest fucking propagandists on earth, who now, in the face of resistance, in the face of any pushback at all, have crumbled and have assigned the blame to a Chinese spying operation.
No, look.
Tolerate you having nuclear weapons and not, say, Iran.
First, again, we never admitted to have such weapons, but
who are you fooling?
Yeah, we have never admitted to having such weapons.
maybe we don't.
We have no nukes. Do not look up the Samson option.
Jonathan Pollard just sent us recipes. He got in trouble.
Comparison is, I must say, it's very insulting, and I tell you why. We suffered one Holocaust. We listened to our neighbors.
Is it because of the Holocaust that you should be allowed to have nuclear weapons?
You know what? This interview was finished now.
This is the propaganda guy.
They were like, we're sending our best guy. He isn't even bald. That's how good he is.
He said, no politics here. No politics. Israel, number one, no politic.
He said, first of all, what if we don't have them? Second of all, oh my fucking God.
Oh, dude, that's crazy. You can't wait. We gotta watch this again. It's so good.
Holocaust. We listened to our neighbors.
Is it because of the Holocaust that you should be allowed to have nuclear weapons?
You know what? This interview was finished now. Your attitude is so hostile.
move.
Your questions are so arrogant. I don't want to speak with you anymore.
Oh my God. I don't remember that spokesman. That, judging by the video quality, that's what, like 2009?
I don't know.
Probably Operation Cast Lead era.
Oh yeah. It's so good. Like the entitlement. I'm telling you, man, early October, like a big chunk of this resentment for Israel becoming a pariah state wasn't even like the violence against brown people, because the Western world is so conditioned to like, you know, agree with that sort of thing. It was the arrogance. It was the sheer entitlement and arrogance demonstrated by every Israeli propagandist, that people were just like, what are you saying right now? Like, I wanted to support you, but holy fuck.
It's the Tip O'Neill truism about all politics, which is, you know, even if you think support is guaranteed, and it is, people like to be asked, and not asking, you know, just do it at your own risk.
Consistently demanding.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Where there are fewer forces, there are fewer Hamas fighters than there are Hezbollah fighters, and you are still fighting them. How soon do you think this war in Lebanon could be over?
Well, Israel has no intention to get into the entire Lebanon, or even the entire south of Lebanon, the way that we did in Gaza.
I mean, do you accept that ultimately resolution in Gaza is the only thing that can lead to a political settlement? And that while you can fight, ultimately the only
Let's see what the defending democracy guy says.
thing that brings peace is politics and talks. And so you are going to have to ultimately do a deal over the future of the Palestinians.
Israel did not open this war with Gaza. I truly believe that we need a resolution in Gaza. There are 101 hostages held by Hamas that I want released. And if proper security arrangements are made,
a state.
The audience must know that Israel has withdrawn completely from Gaza back in 2005 in the disengagement and gave Gaza to the Palestinian Authority to rule. You know, the concept that we give them land and then they turn it into bases to attack.
We give them land? Bitch, it's their land. Like, what do you mean you gave? Also, you're American, I thought. I'm sorry. What do you mean we gave them land? You're literally working as an American at an American think tank. Interesting. It's just odd, you know? He is working for an American think tank in DC, talking about how we gave them land.
Attack Israel. This cannot be acceptable by the Israeli public or by the Israeli governance.
I mean, just finally,
bro, this is what I mean, bro. Put these motherfuckers in jail, bro. Every single person that works for the defense of the Israeli government is in direct violation on U.S. soil, direct violation of FARA. It's crazy. Motherfucker said we.
I mean, do you understand why people might be confused by the messaging coming out of Israel that says you do not want a regional war when you are currently fighting in Lebanon and Gaza and possibly Yemen and Syria? And now Iran is what is next promised. I mean, the fact is you are in a regional war.
Israel did not start any of those conflicts. Yes, indeed, we're fighting 7 fronts that were all imposed on us. And my hope is, and I think that all of the Israelis hope for the new year that starts today in Israel, the Jewish New Year that starts today, that the next year will not be a year of war. It will not be a year of fighting. They need to put their weapons down.
Hulata, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Well, for the whole region, last night's events felt seismic and pivotal. For the people of Gaza, the night played out as many have before under Israeli bombardment. The health ministry announced.
Like, remember, I told you after the third front, it's like Pringles. Okay, once you pop, you can't stop. It's like Pringles, chat. That's why he says 7. What's the difference? Like, he's like, we're going to war with Turkey. Those motherfuckers had it too good for too long. You feel me?
That 51 people were killed in Khan Yunis, and further north, more attacks on a school and orphanage where displaced people were sheltering. This is a special report filmed overnight in 2 neighborhoods with 1 hospital in Gaza City by our colleagues in Gaza, and I should warn you, there are distressing images from the start. It's just past 1:30 a.m. Paramedics are on the move again through Gaza City. Another emergency, another Israeli strike, this time at an orphanage where dozens of displaced families had been sheltering.
Bro, it's like a fucking meme, dude. Like, I don't know what to say. It's like comically evil, dude. Come on, an orphanage?
Wait, they tell the rescuers. Don't leave yet. There are more injured. 6 people were killed. Survivors say there was no warning, no siren, no protection.
We started getting all the bodies out. There were a lot of them. None are targets. All of them are children, women and children.
Nearby Muscat School had also become home to those with nowhere left to go. 25 of them were killed here just before 2 a.m. Mohammed Abu Leal was trapped by the blasts. He tells us there were 2 strikes, then the classrooms caved in.
We couldn't get out because of the dust. We couldn't breathe, and so we just closed our eyes until the ambulances arrived.
Before this woman's body can be stretchered out, a lengthy debate. How best to cover her up, to protect her dignity in death.
They hit a fucking orphanage and a school last night.
As the drone attack?
The injured left for hospital. Those already there were reporting to relatives on the other end of the phone who in their families lived and who died.
Nawal and Mahdi are dead. My sister Iman is fine. Mohammed is fine. Only 3 of us were killed, and we are at Al-Ali hospital.
Inside, the Jundea family is in shock.
We were sleeping. We did manage to get our children out from under the rubble.
Her son, Hasan, is 6. Her youngest boy, Yusuf, just 5.
Yusuf?
He can't answer his uncle back or open his eyes. There are not enough beds for these children, not enough doctors to treat them.
My hands are torn from digging for my children. I don't know where the rest of my children are.
As Mohammed hovers over his 7-year-old girl, Dina, suddenly his son is brought in. It's Hasan. The relief of the reunion is short-lived. He's too worried about Yusuf.
What happened to Yusuf?
He's refusing to wake up. The doctors say he's fine, but he's refusing to wake up.
Yusuf is still unresponsive, but he does have a bed next door. Dina and Hasan had to give up theirs. Forced with their father into yet more limbo, tonight on the hard plastic seats of the waiting room. Well, a short time ago, President Biden declared America's full solidarity and support for Israel and discussed the rollout of new sanctions against Iran during a phone call with G7 leaders. Let's go.
That's a good. That's a great segue into how the American administration is like dealing with these atrocities that Israel's committing with our weapons, by the way, our guns, our bombs.
The just ending for Biden, and even this is just like a fraction of what he actually deserves, is like him losing the election. Everyone hates him.
His mental faculties have already deteriorated. He's not gonna witness the full brunt of like shame.
The thing that really also sucks is Blinken, McGurk, Sullivan, all these fucking guys are gonna go on. They're either gonna go back to West Exec or some private equity firm. They'll become outstandingly rich. They'll be in the next Democratic administration. McGurk will probably be in the next fucking Republican one.
Yeah. They always have these guys, like they bring him back. I mean, it's totally uniparty when it comes to foreign policy. But yeah,
Matthew Miller will probably get a job with some NBC network.
Matthew Hasan is right about this, by the way. Yes, there's more outrage for Iranian strikes on Israeli military targets that didn't kill people than there has been over Israeli strikes on Palestinian civilian targets that killed over 50 people. Oh, what?
Get the latest from our Washington.
Like even if a kid survives something like this, they're affected for ever. All their relationships, just their ability to sleep at night in a bed, just everything is changed forever.
When you see that, you probably understand why they're celebrating when they see Iran light up the sky over Tel Aviv. Like, it's a pretty understandable position to have, in my opinion.
I mean, it's like what I always say is all of us are very lucky to not know what we would actually do if someone abducted our sons, our daughters, maybe our grandparents or our parents or someone, sent them to an unaccountable underground sexual torture facility, or if our electricity was cut off, if someone died of a preventable disease during a blockade, if the building that we live in was destroyed by a quadcopter, if someone we knew was gunned down by one. We're all very lucky that we do not have to find out what we would do in that situation. At the very least, I'd hope that I'd have the courage to celebrate seeing ballistic missiles, just getting one back for once.
Yeah.
And maybe have the courage to pick up a gun and fight back. I don't know that I would. I'm glad that I'll never have to find that out, probably.
When you... Like, people don't understand like where you have to be mentally to engage in like a suicide bomb attack, right? Like people don't comprehend that. The only way that you see that is in like the United States of America, where someone is like deeply mentally ill and then they like turn a gun to like random school children or whatever. These are people with no other options whatsoever remaining for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they have nothing. They literally have nothing. They this is their only way out at that point. It doesn't stem from some like weird, I'm gonna go to heaven and like I'm an extremist and I'm an anti-Semite, whatever the fuck like these idiotic Westerners present it as. That is no different than the conspiracy theories that you hear from right wingers about like how every other school shooting is a fucking psyop. You should be treating that statement whenever someone goes, "Ooh, why would a Palestinian do such a thing? Why would they fucking rise up in arms against all of this death and destruction?" It must be because they're anti-Semitic. You should treat that as in the same vein as like a QAnon supporter. Okay, that's just what it is.
Yeah, it was a very popular thing too during the second Intifada too, and also during the occupation of Iraq, to mystify suicide bombings is exactly this, religious extremism that we could not possibly understand. And I'm reminded of it was something that John Dolan and Mark Ames talked about on Radio Warner about how there's a study about suicide bombers where the big takeaway, the big revelation was they're suicidal, which, no shit, right? But that they're suicidal in that their lives are hopeless. Their material conditions, their relationship with the rest of the world and the powers that dictate the courses of their lives, the lives of everyone they know, the lives of everyone they have ever known and will ever know, everything but dying in a way that at least breaks their fucking nose or gives them a black eye is the only conceivable thing. And not, this idiotic, they get 72 fucking virgins thing.
Yeah, dude, that's so stupid. Yeah, it's the only time where they have any kind of self-actualization, like where they control the means. If death is an inevitability, at least I die by doing something where I find meaning in it, where I'm like fighting back in some way. That's it. That's the reality of the matter.
Imagine if your life was in such a way that was the only thing you had to look forward to.
Correspondent Siobhan Kennedy. Siobhan.
Well, that's right, Krishnan. Joe Biden called that meeting of the G7 this morning, I think, really to rally support for Israel, and I quote, to unequivocally condemn, the White House said, Iran's unacceptable attack yesterday. Joe Biden then spoke on the tarmac to reporters a little bit after that call. He said that the G7 leaders had all agreed that Israel had the right to respond to Iran's missiles. There is no sense, I think, that the US or the G7 want to be part of that response, but they do want to agree among themselves how far they think Israel should go and communicate that, give their advice to Prime Minister Netanyahu if he will listen. At one point, Joe Biden was asked whether or not he would support Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, and he said that he would not. Let's hear how President Biden put that earlier.
Why even run this? What is the value of this?
That means yes.
He said there's a red line on every other fucking thing in the world. Nothing happened. Why even fucking report on this?
No, that means he gave the okay.
Yeah, if he says a specific thing, that means yes.
That's the only way that I treat like Joe Biden pointers in the future. Like for future reference, if you want to know where Israel will go next, just see what Joe Biden said is a red line. Yeah, straight up, like guarantee at this point.
The answer is no, and I think there's things we'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do, but all seven of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
Biden did say that.
Oh, they all have a right. Israel has a right to respond. What about Iran? Did they have a right to respond when their territorial sovereignty was violated? No, they didn't.
Yeah, no. The way I've seen this characterized is just like, like that it was the knockout game, basically.
Yeah. They just did that randomly, out of nowhere, out of the blue. Well, they did that anti-Semitically. That
the US was planning more sanctions against Iran. It's already the most sanctioned country by the United States, and that's on top of fresh sanctions this morning against the Houthis.
That's the other thing. It's like these guys, like, oh no, Houthis won't be able to get the global trade that they benefit from.
Ansar Allah, you can no longer issue commercial paper through Goldman Sachs.
Like, damn, that's
good luck
crazy.
getting on the App Store. Ansar Allah.
That's crazy. Like, what are they? What? oh no, Iran, more sanctions. Like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening at this point? Like, you think they haven't like geared their economy towards this sort of thing? I mean, you can still hurt them more, I guess.
And against settlers in the West Bank last night, Krishnan.
And Iran has been speaking.
That's my favorite, when they find like three Kahanas that are just straight up like that have literally killed like Israeli citizens too, as well as like Palestinians, and they're like, you can no longer access your bank accounts. And then Israel's like, how dare you do this thing?
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, okay, my bad, you can use your bank accounts, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it'll be the West Bank settlers that the Israeli government finds more annoying than useful, and even then, just on principle, they won't accept it.
Yeah, they'll be like, they did that, by the way. They were supposed to go after like one brigade, or they said that they were going to sanction settlers, and then they fucking turned around and were like, never mind, we're not going to do that. Actually, we lied.
Yeah, the Security Council, what did it say?
There are no red lines. Israel could nuke Lebanon. That would not be a red line. I'm not even kidding. I genuinely believe that there are no red lines.
Yeah, no.
None.
Well, there was an emergency meeting called inside the UN this morning. The Iranian ambassador to the UN spoke there. He criticized the United States, as you might expect, and Israel, and said that Iran's response yesterday was both necessary and proportionate. Let's hear how he put it.
Iran is fully prepared to take further defensive measures if necessary to protect its legitimate interests and defense its territorial integrity and sovereignty against any act of military aggressions and the illegal use of force. In this regard, Iran will have no hesitation.
So Biden today is very much trying to present, I think, a united front. Remember, he was only calling for a ceasefire 2 days ago. There is none of that talk now, just ironclad support for Israel.
Islamic fundamentalism existed even before the U.S. did, and attacks, the sack of Baltimore in 1950s and the Barbary pirates attacking ships in the Mediterranean Sea.
The Barbary pirates?
The Barbary pirates were backed by the Ottomans and enslaved people from Europe and Central Africa. When asked why they did it, they said because Allah allows them. It is why the U.S. went to war with them twice in the 1800s.
This is a 71-year-old man. Sir, you have a UTI.
Dude.
Go to the hospital.
Dude, he said...
The Barbary pirates.
He said Islamic fundamentalism existed in the Ottoman era without like looking at European colonialism in the same era, which was unironically infinitely worse. Like, he's currently describing Ottoman enslavement at a time when chattel slavery existed, okay, in the United States of America. What are you talking about, dude?
I haven't seen someone bring up the Barbary pirates since the Bush administration.
That's awesome.
This guy is
He must have
so...
gotten it. He definitely got this one talking point specifically from like, I don't know, some fucking Reddit atheist or something. I don't know. This seems like
a conservative unk.
Yeah.
This is a very unk talking point.
Imagine when this guy learns about the Spanish Inquisition. Yeah, just wait till he finds that out, dude.
Thanks, Siobhan. Well, at the Security Council then, ambassadors for Iran and Israel accusing each other of representing terrorist states and threatening to launch further military action. Iran's missile attack against Israel is being seen as an attempt to consolidate its support in the Middle East, while its supreme leader said Western countries should get out of the region. Our international editor, Lindsay Hilson, has this.
The Revolutionary Guard Commander-in-Chief used somewhat retro technology to issue the command to fire, and then they prayed.
I saw the photos. They looked very happy. Did you see the photos of them watching?
They were having a great time.
They were.
So started Operation Truth Promise 2, as shown on Iranian TV. If only Israel didn't exist, said the Supreme Leader this morning.
If they remove their evil from this region...
Hasan about to get canceled on Twitter again for what? Like watching Channel 4? What the fuck? You can't be like, oh, he's watching terrorism propaganda. It's Channel 4. I mean, technically, it's the British government, so they are arch terrorists. So you're not wrong about that, both historically and even in contemporary society. They try to do their very best. But like, come on.
Without a doubt, these conflicts, these
that,
wars,
like, any
these
Iranian
clashes
at
will
all is on
disappear
screen, you're
completely.
supposed to shake your
The
fist
countries of the region
and go,
can
"This
manage
is
themselves,
bad."
manage their region, live together in peace,
I can't
health,
believe
and
this.
well-being.
Oh, you're so bad. Hey, put
Regime
those flags
supporters
down.
were brought out to celebrate the
Cut
attack
it
on
out.
Israel.
Oh, I hate
But it's
this.
not clear that Iran has
Okay,
the
we're safe
military
now.
strength
Yeah.
to resist Israel's superior
Hey.
air power.
Oh, why don't
They're
you grow
waving
up? Hey,
pictures
put that
of the
picture down,
Hezbollah
pal.
leader killed by Israel
Hey, stop
last
shaking
week.
your fist. You're gonna
But the
poke someone's
question
eye out.
now is whether Iran's nuclear
Go to bed, it's
facilities,
late.
buried deep underground,
Hey, get off
can
your phone,
withstand
pal.
Israeli attack. The major nuclear
No, I
sites
hate this.
Israel
Oh,
might
that
target
country? No.
are at
Ooh, I hate it.
Oh, look at it. Look at all those strike targets.
Iraq, Fordo, Natanz, Isfahan, and Bushehr, and subsidiary sites which are scattered across the country. Last night, Iranians queued to fill up their cars with petrol. Some stocked up with food. They are in the eye of a storm, where all they can do is hunker down and hope it passes.
Well, joining me now from Washington is Ali Vyas, who is the Iran Project Director at the Wilson Center's International Crisis Group. Do you think Iran's supreme leader has miscalculated?
Well, it's very hard to say because he didn't really have any good options in front of him. His choices were basically not to respond, which would diminish this Iranian alliance system to one that could be described by all for one.
It's crazy that Nico Cata Avocado both lost all the weight and then became a crisis group think tank manager.
What can't he do?
Yeah, it's wild. Like, many people celebrated like his weight loss because, you know, everyone hates fat people, obviously, but nobody celebrated him becoming the guy.
Well, yeah, he was getting a PhD in international studies the entire time.
Yeah.
And one for none, basically meaning that none of Iran's allies could count on it, or to respond and risk a potentially devastating Israeli retaliation. But I think because option A of demonstration,
something that no one ever talks about is how like Israel only backs down when they're forced to back down. If this is the only lesson you have taught to every country in the region and you are relentlessly pummeling anyone and everyone in sight, like what are people supposed to do? You literally killed the negotiator, dude. What? Like there is no clearer indication that you are not interested in diplomacy at all than killing the principal negotiator.
Twice.
Yeah, and the only successful initiatives against Israel has always come when Israel Israel incurred too many penalties so that they could not maintain their offensive posture. It's just crazy. Yeah, of course they're gonna retaliate. What the fuck are they supposed to do? Israel literally does not stop.
demonstrating restraint was pursued over the past 2 months, and in the Iranian view, it only made Israel more aggressive, signaling that Iran is in a position of weakness. The Iranians decided to take this action to change the dynamics.
What do you make of those people who are saying the Iranian missile attack last night was about restoring Iran's deterrent so that Israel does not get drawn into a full-scale war?
Look, I don't think the Iranians have any delusions that they can restore deterrence with Israel at this point. Israel, of course, is a much more superior military power backed by the world's #1 military superpower. And therefore, there is no way that Iran can outmatch Israel in any way, including in its willingness to go up the escalation ladder. I think what the Iranians wanted to do was to remind the United States that if it continues with this permissive attitude towards Israel, that what the Biden administration has tried very hard to avoid over the past 11, 12 months, which is a regional conflagration, might actually happen. And the Iranians have the willingness and the tolerance of risk to enter into the arena if the United States does not hold Israel back.
Are there any outside players now that do have significant influence over Iran? I mean, they said that they told the Russians about their impending attack. I mean, what would their role be in trying to prevent a full-scale war?
Look, the Russians have influence over Iran, but I think the Russians actually enjoy more instability in that part of the world that would drag the attention away from what's happening in Ukraine, especially that of the United States and the West. The Chinese are more worried because this is the area of the world they get 1/3 of their energy imports from. And the Chinese have influence over the Iranians, over the Saudis, the Emiratis, etc., but not necessarily over the Israelis. The only actor here who has influence over Israel is the United States, but the United States is also, with only 4 weeks to go before presidential elections, is almost politically paralyzed, and even when it was not, it wasn't really willing to exercise its influence over Israel. And so there is not a lot of hope that any outside actor could effectively stop this dynamic from ending in disaster.
Ali Vyas, thank you very much indeed for joining us from Washington.
All right, well, things seem to be going great. Felix, thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure, as always.
I'm tired.
I am too.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like to promote? No Passaran came out.
No Passaran. You can find links to that on my profile, on Chris Wade's, on the official Chapo account, and the Chapo Patreon account. Look out for the conservative media series dropping probably before the election.